Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to a celebration of life, a memorial and tribute to our Elvi, Jester, Cobra, Dust Devil, Marine, and Air Force brother, Lieutenant Colonel Aaron Amber Frey. Amber was promoted posthumously to Lieutenant Colonel. I'm Major Christopher Taylor. I go by Beast, and I flew with Amber in the 461st and at the Test Pilot School, and I will be your MC for this event. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to refrain from taking pictures in the hangar or on the flight line, and that 412 test wing COVID procedures are in effect. First, I want to thank the 370th, the 461st, TPS, and all of those who contributed to making this possible for us to share memories of Amber together. I'd also like to start off by welcoming our honored guests and distinguished visitors. Please welcome Amber's wife, Janelle. Their son, James, and daughter, Madeline. Amber's father, Claude, and wife, Elizabeth. His mother, Jane, and her husband, retired General Larry Sheehan. His brother, Dan, and wife, Casey. His sister, Jenny, and fiance, Todd. His mother and father-in-law, Joseph and Pam. And finally, his sister-in-law, Shelley. I'd also like to welcome some senior leaders, General Deartine and his wife, Erica, Colonel Gordon, Colonel Manning, Colonel Clements, Colonel Pabon, Mr. Osborne, and Chief Ward Swanigan, and any of the other DVs that joined us. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to welcome all other friends and colleagues of Amber here with us today. Janelle, James, and Madeline, we are extremely grateful to have you in attendance as we remember your husband and father's service to our nation. He was a role model, mentor, and trusted friend to so many. It's a testament to your father and husband how many people are here to celebrate with us today. At this time, the Blue Eagles Honor Guard will present the colors. This is considered an indoor ceremony. Please stand and remain standing for the national anthem sung by Morgan Soundy and the posting of the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star
Thank you, Morgan and Blue Eagles Honor Guard, for a memorable start to today's ceremony. Morgan is the daughter of Mr. Bundy Soundy, one of Amber's friends and colleagues. You may now take your seats as I invite Chaplain Harris to the podium for today's invocation.
I invite you to bow your heads and pray with me at this time. Father of mercies and God of all consolation, you pursue us with untiring love and dispel the shadow of death with the bright dawn of life. Comfort your family in their loss and sorrow. Be our refuge and our strength, O Lord, and lift us from the depths of grief into peace and light of your presence. Be with us, O Lord, as we come before you today to honor the life, service, family, and faith of our brother, Lieutenant Colonel Aaron Amber Frey. As we stand and salute, as we remember and reflect, as we laugh and cry, as we cherish and embrace the life and memory of the man whose impact will span far beyond his short time on this earth. From the family he raised and loved, to the friends he made, and to the students he instructed. We humbly implore you, O Lord, to be with his wife Janelle and her children James and Madeline. Be with them during this painful and difficult time. May your Spirit and your people continue to provide the love and support that they will require in the days ahead. May they never go unaided. We graciously ask that your spirit of comfort and consolation be extended to the members of our Edwards Air Force Base community, the men and women of the 370th Flight Test Squadron, and all those who flew and served alongside Lieutenant Colonel Aaron Amber Frey, in United States Air Force, as well as the United States Marine Corps. Strengthen their resolve, we pray, O Lord, to never lose their drive and determination in their pursuit of excellence, in the defense of freedom of our nation as they honor the memory of their friend and brother. Your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, by dying has destroyed death, and by rising restored our life. Enable us, therefore, to press on toward him, so that after our course is run, he may reunite us with those we love, when every tear will be wiped away. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Harris, for the thoughtful words and reflection. At this time, I'd like to invite Amber's father, Claude Frey, to say a few words. Sir, the floor is yours.
I asked to speak first so that I could give you all a sense of history with respect to Aaron, starting at the beginning. Some of it explains why he was here, and then I want to get a little bit into why we are here today. When Aaron was, 1.5, 2, whenever kids start talking, he'd come with me when I went out in the yard to do yard work. And he started saying, dubda, dubda. I thought he was trying to say dada. Eventually he's going dubda, dubda, pointing to the airplanes going overhead. Literally, his first word was his version of airplane. The next story that might help understand why he could be here was when he turned 16 years old. He lived with his mom in Denver area and would come stay with us in the summer for 6-8 weeks. And one summer he turned 16, July 1st, didn't really want to come right away because July 1st, that was the first possible day he could get his driver's license. So, okay, son, fine. So he comes Saturday, July 2nd, after he gets it on Friday, July 1st. So the first time I give him a car to drive, it's to drive himself, my son Dan, and my daughter Jenny to a little education program they had down at the university. So he's 16 years old, driving down this street that's major thoroughfare, 3 lanes in both directions. He's in the right-hand lane, stops at a stoplight. There's a taxi stopped in front of him, and he's looking in his rearview mirror and sees a cement truck coming. And he's looking in his rearview mirror and he's going, uh-oh. He pulls the car up onto the sidewalk. The cement truck goes through where he was, sends the cement truck and the taxi driver out into the intersection, and basically saved all 3 of them. So from a very early on, he had that just general sense of what's going on around you. What did he call it? Situational awareness. The next thing was, at 18, he got his pilot's license. So he's visiting again in Phoenix, and he says, Dad, let me take you flying. So we go to the Scottsdale airport, he rents a plane, gets about halfway down into the runway and goes, we're not taking this plane. It's not responding correctly to the throttle. Turns it around, goes back, we get a different plane, end up taking off, flying up to Payson. We're gonna have lunch at this little grill in Payson, and he's landing in Payson, and about halfway down the runway, I'm going, he better touch down or we're gonna run out of runway. And I look over at the gauges and we're doing 35 knots. And I'm going, when did we touch the runway? I never felt or heard the wheels get to the runway. Clearly his manual skills were there all along. He then went on to university, bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering. Kind of like his dad, he thought maybe it'd be nice to be in the space program. His master's degree project was designing and building a little greenhouse that could grow plants on Mars. He then graduates, and for eight months works for a satellite company developing some of their systems. In the meantime, all he's really doing is working out all the time. He wants to go into the Marine Corps because NASA chooses most of its pilots from Marine aviators. Well, he gets into the Marine Corps, gets jets, and then that's about the time NASA's funding went kaput. So, had to change directions. He was flexible, doing what he had to do, and becomes a good fighter pilot in the Marine Corps, eventually gets recruited to test pilot school, ends up being a test pilot that his first year as a test pilot gets the Test Pilot of the Year award because of how he wrote up one of the testings he was doing. I skipped a story I meant to insert here. When he was at Quantico, one of the exercises at Quantico is you have one-on-one combat with another trainee. And it got to the point where he had clearly won the competition and stopped. And one of the other recruits gets in his face, "You sissy, you should have finished him." And Aaron stands up to him and goes, "Do not confuse kindness with weakness." So I've carried this up to the point where you guys would have met him. And I want to get a little bit into why we're here. It's family. I don't want to reintroduce the nuclear family. That was already well done. A couple I would add are his stepsister Jessie and her husband Herman, and his stepbrother Zach. In fact, you'll see him in some of the pictures. They were all clearly part of what was his family. I think everybody else I was going to mention has already been mentioned. I especially want to thank, Mark, his uncle and godfather are also here. let's see. I really want to thank his sister Shelley, or his wife's sister Shelley, Aaron Rosenstock, Sarah. We ended up having to be flown in from Phoenix on a bonanza because my wife's recently had back surgery. The efforts that have gone out to make it possible for us to be here are outstanding, and more than friendly, they are loving. It is clearly an effort of family that made all this possible. I really appreciate that you all have gone through such an effort, either to have us here or to be here. And in the overall scheme of why we're here, it's not just to mourn Aaron, but also to celebrate what it was to be with him and have him in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frey, for your kind words. I think a lot of people in this audience can relate to a lifelong love of aviation, and thank you for your thanks for this family. I think everyone in this room would agree the community that we're a part of is pretty special. Next, I'd like to invite Amber's stepfather, retired General Larry Sheehan, to the stage to share a few words.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Larry Sheehan, and I had the God-given pleasure of being Aaron's stepfather over the years. I first met Aaron when he was 9 years old, and we started off from there. The first thing, we were skiing one day at Copper Mountain in Colorado, and Lord above us, what goes through the overseas, the two F-16s. And Aaron said at that time to me, I really want to be a fighter pilot. And that was the first time he told me, and since I'd known him since he was 9 years old. He took it very seriously. As Claude mentioned, he graduated from University of Colorado with a bachelor and master's degree in aerospace engineering. He was working at a space firm in Denver, and at that time was accepted into the Marine Corps. And they really wanted to keep him in Denver in a civilian job. And I said to him, what will it take to keep you with us? And he said, 2 F-16s and $1 million. So that he, sure enough, went into the Marine Corps and went through Quantico and on to Vance Air Force Base for pilot training. He also, his uncle, John, brought him down to the United Airlines flight simulator in Denver when he was 12 years old, and he did a great job at the simulator on 737. We'll miss Aaron. He loved his country, he loved his family, and he loved everybody. His jokes were funny, and he knew how to talk with very few words. I would like to thank the 370th, the 461st, and the TPS for all the work that they've done in arranging this. Aaron would be proud of you. He loved Edwards Air Force Base. He loved the military life. And he loved his people that he worked with. I think he's going to be, he's in a better place now, and we'll all remember Amber. We'll all remember Amber for who he was. He touched so many people in their lives in a positive way, and he was a wonderful man. Thank you.
Thank you, General Sheehan, for your words about our friend Amber. I suspect this will not be the first time we'll hear about his incredible sense of humor and heart of gold. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Amber's wife, Janelle, to the stage to share a few words.
Good morning. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, "If we have loved while we are alive, there is life after death here. Our love will go on for generations." Aaron, Amber loved each and every one of you. I'd like to thank all of you for coming today from near and far. Your presence here indicates that Amber made a significant impression on you in some way, and you on him. I'd like to thank all of the folks here at Edwards Air Force Base, the 360th, or 370th, the 461st, Lieutenant Colonel Doug Rosie Rosenstock and his wonderful wife, Erin, Major Jonathan Bierce and his wife, Sarah, Lieutenant Colonel Raven Ross LeClaire and his beautiful wife, Joni. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Colonel Midvale, commander of the 370th, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Jones and Scotty with the 370th TPS, and Poco, the Commandant, who visited us last week in Colorado. All of the photogs at the 461st who put together the wonderful photo and slideshow to honor Aaron. James Jimbo Coppersmith, Mark Blita Haas from China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station. All of those of you who've had a role, big or small, in moving mountains to make this memorial possible, and in having a role in Aaron Amber's life. There are too many to thank. Aaron and I met 21 years ago. I'm honored and grateful to say that I knew him for half of his time here on Earth. And when I met him, he introduced himself as Jackson. And there are those of you here today from that time in his life who knew him as Jackson. And he was known as Jackson because of his love for skipping school on Fridays in high school and going with his buddies to Jackson Hole, Wyoming for skiing. That was also a very special place for Aaron and his stepfather, Larry, in skiing together. And also, as we became a couple and a family, dreams of taking our children there and continuing that just love for the outdoors and specifically that place. The first thing I noticed about Aaron when he walked in the room was his $1 million smile. It was a smile that could light up the room and just lift you up if you were having a bad day. He was always kind-hearted and respectful to all he met. I remember going through the grocery store during college and together, and whenever even the checkout lady would wish him, or he'd wish her a good day, and vice versa. She'd say, well, have a good day, and he'd say, okay, I will. And he'd always catch people off guard, or, he'd say these things that really just made any interaction with him make you feel like he knew you and you were special, and he just inspired greatness in everyone he met. Though he never wanted to be in the spotlight, or maybe secretly, he just always used his knowledge and his leadership to lift others up and inspire greatness and them. Aaron's sister Jenny shared a memory with me from high school relating to his contagious smile. She says, when I ran cross country in high school, we would start training in the summer. Practice was at 5 a.m. Aaron would come train with us before he went back to college. One of the first days he was out there, my coach yelled at him, "If you're smiling, you're not running hard enough," because he would run with his giant grin on his face. He came up to me afterwards and said, "Does your coach know I'm not actually on the team?" It felt like such a quintessential Aaron moment and reminded me of all the ways Aaron has supported me throughout the years. Aaron never left a man behind. One of our first trips together, or maybe the trip in college where we became good friends, was on a mountain biking trip to Utah, Moab, Utah, Slick Rock. And some of Aaron's close friends are here today. Mark Ewing and Steve Bonnell were on that trip. And Aaron had just moved in with them as a new roommate, and we were on college fall break, and it was raining. And if you've ever been to Arches National Monument or Slick Rock, that rock gets pretty wet. And Aaron made sure that I didn't ride off over a cliff. He always kind of fell behind just to take care in that way. And it was the same with regard to his Marines and his TPS students. He always accounted for everybody and made sure everybody knew what was going on or taken care of. I remember he was getting into baking most recently. He was always thinking of what he would do upon retirement, and he baked cupcakes one night to take to someone here at the squadron who might have been the only enlisted or junior enlisted person, and he really wanted to honor that person's birthday. And that's who he was. He never let anybody go unnoticed, or he was a remarkable father. He had a tradition of cooking pancakes every Saturday morning for James and Madeline. And this is a tradition that he wanted to carry on from his father, Claude. So every Saturday morning, even if during COVID times that we were physically separated, we'd set up the Zoom call on our end and his, and he would ask the children what they'd like him to make for their pancakes. It was usually a princess of some sort for Madeline, or a spaceship or Saturn for James. Aaron's brother Dan shared a story with me attesting to him being the best father in the world. Dan says, "One recent memory that comes to mind is when Aaron and your family were over at our home in Burbank recently. Around 9 p.m., James and Madeline were so hyped from family time and eating a metric ton of sugar that they were bouncing off the walls. Aaron took them out in the front yard and designed a race course through the lights in our front yard and acted as a referee and hype man while James and Madeline ran through the course again and again and again. Aaron was so good with them, so patient and kind, teaching them to follow the rules and be good to each other. And he was so excited and proud of them. With every new run, Aaron would look at his stopwatch and exclaim, 'Another new world record, unbelievable!' And they would cheer and come running over to tell me their time. 'Under 10 seconds, Uncle Dan.' I couldn't help but get swept up in the thrill of a sport that Aaron had just invented, and I was inspired by seeing him being such a great dad. And of course, his dad jokes, which I'm sure he was well known for here, and we may hear some later from some of the other speakers, but the one that he shared with our children from the time they were able to understand what a joke was, and which may be familiar to you, was, "What's the best part of living in Switzerland?" "Well, the flag's a big plus." And that was a joke that Madeline and James have continued to tell anyone they come in contact with, usually around the dinner table. Aaron inspired greatness and courage in others. From the time that he and I summited Colorado 14ers, when I would freeze crossing the scree in the rock slide area, and he would talk me across with his gentle, confident way. Whether it was a whiteout snowstorm at the top of the tram in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I had vertigo, but followed his voice all the way down, trusting him to get me to the bottom, to safety. Or him pushing limits on our honeymoon in Costa Rica to zip line through the canopy and the trees. Or on a family ski trip, again, a memory shared by his brother Dan. Dan says, "I think I was about 12, so Aaron was 16. Aaron suggested that he and I go do a run, just the two of us, which already made me feel incredibly cool. He then led me around to the back country of the mountain to ski down the one and only double black diamond run of my entire life, which I was not qualified to ski by any means. It was truly a wonder to see him float down the mountain on his skis. He could have busted down that slope in seconds, but he took the time with me, showing me every single turn, coaching me through it all. We came up to a steep cliff, and I got so scared. I was ready to pack up my skis and hike back, but Aaron persuaded me that I could do it. He helped me conquer the fear and told me, 'You have to trust yourself, lean forward in your boots, and hit it with confidence.' I did, dropped down what felt like 100 feet, but was probably 5, and went skiing away feeling invincible. It was truly one of the peak experiences of my life. And afterwards, since we would have both been in huge trouble if anyone else knew, we kept it our secret. He was the greatest older brother I could have hoped for. Amber always challenged himself, tried new things, even if it was completely out of his comfort zone. And he had this knack to naturally master whatever he tried, as if he'd been studying it or practicing it for years. I brought him home to my family's property in northern Colorado during our dating years in college, and I put him on the back of my horse. And he took off, and he just ran at full speed from one end of the fence to the other, turned around on a dime, ran to the other end, and he did that for probably 15 minutes until the horse couldn't go any longer, and he just came back with a smile on his face. And later in Yokern, we'd had some horses that came to us, and he just continued that way. Just that sixth sense that he had, that calming presence. Aaron talked a lot about his dreams post-military. He always talked about us moving back up to the Grand Tetons area, starting a farm stay, where he would give plane rides in the summer and ski tours in the winter, where we would allow veterans and their families to come and heal. He talked about opening a European bakery in Summit County, Colorado. He had a triathlon bike in the garage that he was saving and training to do a triathlon with one day. Our family spent the last 2 weeks leading up to his passing in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, doing the things we loved, hiking. He tried the paddleboard for the first time, along with his Aunt Annie and Uncle Andrew, who were visiting from Santa Fe, who are here today. We celebrated Father's Day, and we celebrated Aaron's 42nd birthday on July 1st. We celebrated 4 days later with my family in Loveland, with 25 of our extended family. And he shared a celebration and handshake with my 98-year-old grandfather and a cake. There are so many stories, and we're so many layers to Aaron. And a lifetime here isn't enough time to share all of those, but I know that he loved each and every one of you, and you touched him in a special way, and I know that he touched you. And I'd just like to leave you with a prayer that Aaron shared with me from the time we met, that his mother had shared with him from the time he was young, and that we shared with our children and continue to say every night, and that is this: Aaron, pleasant dreams, sleep tight and comfortable. May the angels watch over and protect you. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle, for your courage and strength at this difficult time, and for sharing something that only you can about someone that we all care for so much. And I'd also like to thank you for your thanks for everyone here. That was awful generous of you, and that's so Amber, too. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite any last members of the family if they'd like to say any words. All right. Thank you again, Claude, General Sheehan, and Janelle, for sharing all those special memories of Amber with us today. Your stories definitely resonate for sure. At this time, I'd like to invite a few of Amber's work brothers and sisters who requested to share some of their favorite memories of him to the stage. But before they do, one of Amber's friends created a short clip of him in his element at work. The following words are from Miss Sting Peterson, a fellow test pilot school instructor and creator of this video. Amber was known for the joy and humor he brought to everything he did. Several months ago, a staff training flight, a dissimilar chase event with a control room, happened to capture the essence of Amber's instructional style. The recorded data from this event are currently used to train TPS students. Amber left a few Easter eggs for sure. While the main learning objectives are for the pilot to practice test maneuvers and the engineers to monitor control room parameters, probably the most memorable thing about this video is the control room gets to hear all of the audio from the cockpit. So please play the video from Ms. Peterson.
Do you know anything about Icelandic sheep farming?
Icelandic sheep farming. I thought you told me a little bit last time.
They are some of the best sheep to farm because you can breed Icelandic sheep for their wool.
Yep.
And they have a very coarse outer layer, a very fine inner layer. They also produce some of the finest sheep's milk of any breed. It's excellent for cheese.
That sounds delicious.
And lastly, their meat is some of the finest lamb you can have.
That sounds outstanding. So you have to go to Iceland for this.
Skull 7-2, you can proceed inbound now, so report 5 miles to move 5 mile final. 7-2 will go.
There's 90%. Oil pressure is good.
Brakes, release, now.
33.
Engine's good.
Engine 2.
Airspeed's alive. Nose wheel steering's off. Passing on the right. Feel that?
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's cool. Three, two, one.
Aboard.
Altitude.
Next will be the 3G missile firing event at 400 knots. You're cleared photo chase for the missile firing event, either side. I'm starting the pull now. Test design conditions. Station clear.
There's the 3.
Fox.
Missile away.
Choo choo choo.
Simulate.
Of course. Okay, let's terminate to the east.
Station.
Head back to the west.
Nice. Do you like Katy Perry?
Katy Perry. Yeah, she's pretty good.
I like Katy Perry.
Jet says he loves it.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag over Cowards Road? That's good right there.
'Cause baby, you're a fire. Come on, let your colors burst. Baby, you're a star.
Or something like that.
Make 'em go, oh, oh, oh. As they shoot across the sky.
Beautiful.
So that was a relatively short clip, but I think everyone in this room can think of multiple times, at least, that Amber made them laugh. While the audio didn't make this clip itself, Sting can be heard saying on this flight later in the sortie that this is the most fun she's ever had on a sortie. So thank you, Sting, for putting together this memory of Amber. Our next speaker will be an individual who knew Amber very well during this time, both in the F-35 Integrated Test Force and as a Marine Harrier pilot in VMA 513, Major Jonathan Beast Bierce.
Hey Beast, you want to hear a joke? What do you call a fish with two knees? A toonie fish! This is how most of my conversations started with Amber, and I'm sure most of your conversations with him as well. He loved being a dad. He loved telling dad jokes, even if they were really bad. But it brought a smile to everybody's face. He used to text Cinco a lot, and still did up until a few days ago, that most of the conversation would just be in dad joke texts. I can't really even begin to describe or memorialize such a radiant personality that Amber was. I've known an Amber for a majority of my military career. I've essentially followed in his giant shoes all over the Southwest. I first met Amber when he joined the Nightmares when we flew Harriers together. He was a brand new weapons officer, straight out of WTI. And it was quickly apparent that he loved people and he loved teaching. I have a very fond memory of Amber with our very first cross country to Williams Gateway. We were both flight leads. I was a brand new flight lead, kind of under Amber's wing, and we were instructing brand new wingmen, Lube and Bear Jew. You're gonna have to excuse the Marine Corps call signs. Amber was so excited to shape the minds of a young Harrier pilot, but he was also never too serious, as you guys just heard. I was gonna play that exact song, but I'm glad Sting Peterson caught it of him singing it, because that's how I remember Katy Perry's Fireworks, and that's how it plays in my head every time I hear it on the radio. It was apparent that Amber was very fond of female pop artists. He also loved Kesha and routinely sang Kesha as well. In our entire cross country, to and from the airport and the hotel, Amber would serenade us with his terrible renditions of Katy Perry and Kesha. He made it seem to all of us that he didn't have a care in the world. And even though we made fun of him for singing Katy Perry and Kesha all the time, we all secretly liked it, and it brought a smile to our face. He was a vibrant personality that everyone loved. I'm pretty sure to this day our old CO Chumley, who's here somewhere in the audience today, can't say his name without smiling. Amber, my man, he would always say to him. Naturally, I, like everyone, gravitated towards Amber. He became a mentor of mine throughout my career. He taught me to fly with a happy heart and not take yourself too seriously. Even in the heat of battle, taking 9 lines in Afghanistan, Amber had that same happy radio voice, cool, calm, collected, the entire time. And I'm pretty sure he brought a smile to the JTAC's faces as well. Every time I heard his voice on the radio when I checked in to tower and he was doing patterns in the F-16, I had to fight the urge just to key the mic and yell, "Amber!" Because I just wanted him to smile, because listening to his voice made me smile. When it came time for me to graduate from TPS, there was no other person that I wanted to patch me other than Amber. And I'm wearing his patch to this day, and I will honor it for the rest of my life. It was also fitting that I replaced his shoes in the 461st. I will miss our long chats and complaint sessions about Marine Corps manpower leadership and overall philosophy on life. I will miss you and Craps trying to feed me Rippets while I study because you thought it was funny to see me hyped up on caffeine. I will miss your compliments and constant smile. I promise to attempt to uphold your legacy and attempt to be even half as happy as you always were. However, I will not promise to sing Katy Perry or Kesha to the control room. I have to draw the line somewhere. But I will miss hearing it. I will lead with compassion and fly with a happy heart. Janelle, James, and Madeline, Sarah and I promise to be here whenever you need us. Amber, you will be missed, my friend. Fly high and do one more roll for me. Fair winds, brother. We have the watch.
Beast, thanks for sharing. I think we can relate to many of those stories, but I also like how you pointed out, and I think we should all remember that Amber was a warrior and a hell of a fighter pilot. Next, I would like to invite a flight test engineer who worked closely with Amber on F-35 development and operational testing, Ms. Julia Moore.
Good morning. Major Taylor, thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Julia Moore, and I spent 6 years working both development and operational flight tests with the F-35 as a TC and TD. 4 of those 6 years were with Amber, closely working with him. And from the time I spent with him, it was apparent how much he truly loved working with the 461st Dudley Jesters. We all know it's because he was a little bit of a jokester himself. The feeling was mutual because we all truly loved working with him as well. Over the past few days, with Scalar's help, we've reached out to the flight ops team, including those who previously worked at the ITF, many who wanted to share their favorite memory of working with him. So I've collected a set of stories of memories that describe who Amber was to us. John Beilstein, a former FTE, reminded me of one of our 2017 mission effectiveness test events with Amber as our flight lead. It was a test where we launched 9 F-35s to have 8 healthy aircraft airborne, 2 support tankers, and multiple F-16s. It certainly was not cheap by any means. After 15 aircraft had taken off, the primary asset we needed to test with on the ground broke, and the mission was canceled. The mission control room felt completely defeated. At debrief, Amber tells the team, "Sometimes you can have the best plans ever, do everything right, and you still lose, and that's okay." This perfectly describes one of Amber's greatest attributes, which was his optimism. As I'm sure many already know, and as we've seen in the video, Amber used to love to sing over hot mic during testing. Amber used to love to sing to us so much, when he would ask who his test conductor was for a particular event, we would have to tell him the name, followed by their preference in music. It's John, and he's a huge fan of the Eagles. Or, it's Peter, and he loves metal. The screaming kind. We also quickly learned that Amber loved pop music, as Beast just mentioned. The first time he sang in one of my own personal missions, it was also Katy Perry Firework. And I was impressed because he knew every single verse. I found out later he wrote the lyrics on the back of his test card. Teresa Bryant shares a story about working with him closely at the ops desk when he supported as ops soup, something he secretly admitted to her that he enjoyed more than flying the mission itself. There was one particular day when he called the weather shop for an update and then proceeded to tell the poor individual on the phone one of his corny jokes. After a moment of silence without a response from the other end, Amber says, "Did you get it? You're not laughing." Meanwhile, the group standing around the ops desk was crying in laughter. Amber hung up and just kept smiling. That was Amber, always smiling. Senior Airman Norman also worked closely with Amber while he was ops soup. Many times, they would sit behind the desk together and Amber would stay for the entire mission because Amber believed it was where all the action was. Senior Airman Norman looked forward to hearing his voice because she knew there was always a good joke that would shortly follow. She will truly miss Amber's joyful spirit. Our previous scheduler, Shauna, shared every time she was out of the office, she would come back to work with a note on her desk reading, "I miss you." In fact, one time there was an entire card filled out by all of the pilots about how much they missed her while she was away, even though she had only been gone for a few days. Who was behind it? Amber, of course. Shauna's daughter Addison said her favorite thing about Amber was the confetti popper he kept in his flight suit pocket. When she asked him what it was for, all he told her was that he was waiting for the right moment. One of our former FTEs, Caitlin Fahey, said, "Every time I spoke to Amber, my day became instantly better." He was one of those people who had the ability to brighten the mood of the entire room, even remotely. He always made sure to sing or tell terrible jokes over hot mic, which either made the control room laugh or groan. Occasionally, when killing time at the ops desk, he'd slip into Marine mode, sharing stories about his mission overseas, though always with the biggest smile on his face. But the thing I will remember the most about Amber was his ability to make every single member of the team feel important. No one felt like their role was insignificant. Everyone looked forward to working with him. He was truly one of a kind. Between Amber's classic dad jokes, goofy sense of humor, and unwavering optimism, he came to work every day with an ulterior motive, his secondary mission objective, and that was to bring a smile to all those that he worked with. When we look back at these amazing memories of him, we are undoubtedly smiling once again, just like he himself had originally intended. To Amber, we will always remember you as a part of this family, our very own deadly jester. In true Amber style, I'm going to end this with a joke, and one that he actually told me himself, and one you may have already heard. Why do Norwegian warships have a barcode on the side? So they can Scandinavian. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you, Julia, for sharing those stories. I think we all know how much Amber made it a part of his day to make everyone feel special. Next to share will be an F-35 pilot who is also another wingman of Amber's at the 461st and is also an instructor at TPS, Lieutenant Colonel Corey Rufus Florendo.
I'm going to start by saying something obvious, but that has to be said. It's not easy to be up here looking at you all, but the reason is because there's no words. You could have a parade of people up here for a year or two telling stories just like you heard from Julia, and you wouldn't touch the kind of person that he was. You could never do him justice. And so it's just tough to get up here and try and do right by him, the kind of guy that he was. But I know that he would be the first guy to try. For anyone in this room, he loved everyone, as we know. And so let's give it a shot, right? Helen Keller said, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen nor touched, but they're felt in the heart." And I think we all know and have heard how Amber made people feel. And on that line, another quote that comes to mind when I think of him is by Maya Angelou. And she said, "I've learned people will forget what you said and they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel." With that in mind, I'm new to test pilot school. I knew Amber before. I've been here a couple months now. And my first day back, COVID, it's kind of a dreary, and we all know what COVID is, right? Dreary environment, everyone's distance, no personal relationships. And I walk into test pilot school, my new job, and I'm excited, and everyone's just kind of dreary because of COVID, right? I happen to walk by scheduling, and in contrast to everything I'd seen and all the airports I'd been in, that place is alive and vibrant and booming. And I can tell there's like 3 people in there, and there's one guy whose back is to me. And I just see he's in a flight suit, that's all I know, right? And at this point, I had no idea Amber is back at TPS, but I tell myself, I've got to go. I got to go see who this guy is. Just got to see who's making this place, this one kind of like nest of happiness in this overall just COVID environment. And sure enough, I walk in, and to my very great surprise, it's Amber. And the first thing in his Amber voice, Rufus, and the biggest hug in the world. And it was just, I will never forget, like, okay, this is going to be awesome because I'm here with this guy. And again, he made all of us feel that way all the time. Amber's time at test pilot school allowed him to share that joy with more people than he normally would have been able to. And in case you don't know, I see in the back a lot of test pilot school students who probably should be doing other things, but you're here. And the time that they're dedicating is a testament to how much he touched them in a very short time. That joy that he has is with all of them, and it will get spread. It's worth noting that video from test pilot school, when Sting made it, she didn't tell Amber that she was recording. He had no idea that video was being made, which I think is just, it adds to it, right? Like that's just who he was. I asked test pilot school for memories of him, just like Julia did. And there's a couple trends. I mean, there were so many responses. I'm sure we all know this, but Amber's tagline, when you ask him how you doing, Amber, he always said it's his best day of my life. It's always his response. And just such a non-standard thing to hear. That's the first thing that everyone talks about him. Like, this guy is having the best day of his life. And if you look at him, man, that no matter when you see him, it is the best day of his life. And they will always love that about him. The other thing that they always brought up was the dad jokes. And I've connected with Amber. I keep my dad jokes in a database, and we always kind of had that back and forth. And no matter where he goes, they just have their memories of him having the best day of his life and always telling those dad jokes on hot mic. One brief story that just summarizes Amber so greatly, in my opinion. He turned on Marine mode one time. We were talking about previous experiences, and he talks about all these deployments on the Marines. And, hey, I've been on the boat. You know, the boat's tough, food's tough, life's tough. Like, I don't want to go back. I had so much fun on it. You know, it was just great to be with the guys. But you know, this boat life, this deployed Marine life is really tough. I remember Amber, you know, just went on for 20 minutes, quote unquote, complaining, but with a smile on his face to the point where I'm like, hey, is this guy like, does he really not like this? Because he's saying all these things. But it sounds like he had these years of deployment experience. And so I'm like, all right, Amber, I get it. Like, Marine life is tough. So how many deployments you been on? And he looks at me with a smile and he's like, oh, Rufus, I've never been on one. It's like, okay. Don't know if it's true, but I will never forget that. Reference what I said earlier. I know Amber's last day was what he would call the best day of his life. And that brings me a lot of comfort. I hope we all can kind of take that and just use that kind of in the future to kind of help his memory live on. Remember, God gave us memories so we can have roses in December, and I think that's so apt when I think about him. I know I'm struggling. I know everyone's struggling with this, right? This is tough. This is a tough thing to get through. The last thing I'll leave you with is just that famous quote that I think, if I had to describe him, I would say this. Death, it doesn't distinguish light. Death is just putting down the lamp because the dawn has come. And I think everyone here can walk away with that smile knowing Amber's dawn is about to go spread to a lot of people. So thank you, my friend, for so much. And thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you, Rufus. I've known Amber for a few years now, and I've been at TPS for even less time than Rufus, and it was clear with discussions with the few students that I knew from a previous life that Amber was the standard by which we would all be measured as instructors. Next, I'd like to invite Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Wigby Rohrberg and the class of 12 Bravo to this stage.
Morning, I'm Wigby, classmate of Amber's. On behalf of the test men, thanks for coming up, guys. Class 12B, I'd like to reflect for a moment on our time with Amber. We spent a year together as test men. Amber at times wore different colors than the rest of us, and it helped, depending on the season, helped to pick him out of the crowd. Though we soon discovered it wouldn't be necessary. He stood out regardless of what he was wearing. Throughout the 48 weeks of school, 75 or so sorties and 4 phases, 2 of Amber's qualities, which we've heard over the last hour and a half already, his humor and his joy is what stood out. A handful of us were at Poncho's, the bar here on base, last week, and just happened to be the day after the accident, but we didn't know it yet. And at Poncho's, there's a table there with glass on top where the TPS classes used to keep their name tags and class patch, and I guess the tradition kind of slipped away because ours are still there. And we were just kind of sitting there, going kind of name tag by name tag, talking about where people were, what they were doing. And we got to Amber's, and everybody just kind of stopped and was silent and just kind of smiled and laughed because you didn't really have to say anything. It was just everybody knew where he was, what he was doing, and he just made you smile. And like we've heard, he always had jokes, usually the bad dad jokes, sometimes maybe in smaller groups, an infamous little Johnny joke. Amber exuded a consistent joy throughout our year together, from the classroom, the briefings, over the radio in the cockpit. Seems like a trend item. And you could always sense his joy. He would also randomly place signs on things that said, "Do not eat." On things that didn't eat it, right? The printer, a chair, the whiteboard. He said it was standard practice with the Marines because they got confused at times. We took him at his word and just kind of smiled, not sure if he was joking or serious, but I mean, both scenarios are funny. Amber wasn't just a joker or a clown, though. He was also someone sought after for his counsel in difficult situations. It was great to work with. And he was intelligent, as he was a gentle person, and he inspired us in many ways. It's been quite a journey for Amber since TPS, though of course not long enough. He came to us a Marine, left a test pilot, subdued the Harrier, the Hornet, the JSF, took those to their limits, and many adventures I only heard about today, and some I haven't heard about yet, but hope to. He even decided to match our colors as an airman here recently. And through all these adventures, I know he brought everyone humor and joy, and we can see it in our eyes here, even through our tears. Right now, we have grief and sadness, but we're hopeful that in time, while never gone, the grief will not be at the forefront. Rather, we're hopeful that we can remember his joy. We're thankful for the time we had with Amber. We're better for it, but again, we're hopeful. Hopeful that through all of us, Amber's humor and joy will endure. Thank you.
Thank you, Wigby, and the class of 12 Bravo. I think it's another reflection on this special community of ours that 12 people out of a class of roughly 20 have made the journey from many parts of this nation to be here. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite a member of the 370th who also flew F-35s with Amber, Lieutenant Colonel Raven Ross LeClaire.
Thank you for your patience for a couple more minutes. I know it's been long and tough, but also joyous. I've known Aaron since 2016, and Like everyone else here who have eloquently described who he was the best of all of us, and he made us better just by being near him. And I think he would be a little embarrassed about how much we're talking about him, and he would want to thank all of you. So I want to take a moment to mention his family and reflect what an honor it has been to serve them, and how much they loved and supported Aaron. Over the past 9 days, I was with his family in Denver and Scottsdale, and what I witnessed was life-changing. I kid you not. The strength, the beauty, the compassion, the love of his family is unlike anything I have ever witnessed, and has given me a benchmark to forever strive for. There's a tight, coupled orbit of love and support that is both a reflection of Aaron, but also I see all of you, his family, reflected in him. And it's important that we acknowledge all of that. Janelle, your selfless care of others, even in the darkest times, serves as a beacon for us, for all of us to be more selfless like you. Thank you for being exactly who you are. You are a compassionate angel, and I know you described meeting Aaron as meeting an angel, and clearly he met one as well. James, you are amazing. Your passion and strength are humbling to me. Your Lego skills are equally humbling. They really are. Above all else, the intensity in which you feel is remarkable. The love that your Father reflects is in you, and you will carry that out with you forever. Carry that intensity with you forever for the rest of your life. I'm so proud of you. Madeline, your smile and laughter lights up the world. It makes everyone around you feel happier. I am also humbled by your strength, and I see your dad's smile reflected in you. Jane, your leadership and love was evident the instant I met you. It goes without saying that a mother's love is infinite. And you said, we will go on for him. And you took all of our hands in that moment of grief when you found out, and you led us with your strength. Right then, right there. I saw this depth of leadership in Aaron every day that I was with him. And through you, Aaron's leadership made us all better, and he saved many people's lives. I attribute that to you and your leadership. Claude, your warm embrace when I met you and your keen scientific mind is reflected so clearly in Aaron. He embraced all of us as you embraced me, he was the best of us with his engineering and pilot skills. You are an anchor for your family, and you have a big job to do to be a super grandpa. Thank you for sharing your stories and your heart. Larry, there are very few who come into our lives later and shape it as profoundly as you have shaped Aaron's life. Aaron was on your first date with Jane, and clearly you passed that 9-year-old boy's test. Aaron married you as clearly as you married Jane, and clearly as you embraced him. Your military service was an inspiration to him. Your attention to the details of love and challenges helped him to become the wonderful leader that he became and that we love so dearly. Thank you for the room inspections, for the skiing, for the adventures, and the depth of your leadership and love for him. I see you so clearly in him, and I see that he has equally shaped you. Liz, thank you for sharing your home and your heart with us. You understand grief and loss at a depth that not many can understand. Thank you for being here in the midst of recovering from surgery. I appreciate that. It means a lot to us all. Jenny, you are amazing. You share and reflect Aaron's heart in your soul and your academic prowess, doctor. Your vulnerability and openness helps us to remember we can cry, we can laugh. We can love and we can feel sadness all at once, and it's okay. Thank you for sharing that with me. And thank you, Todd, for being the rock that you are as well. I know Aaron is in your heart always. And your upcoming union with Todd, I know, is something he embraces fully. And it becomes that much more meaningful and powerful knowing that he's going to be there with you. Dan, the other critical part of the Jenny, Aaron, Dan, brother-sister tripod, I know you also shared a deep sibling bond and have together been through challenging times before. The novels and stories you and Aaron discussed and were working on together are at the top of my reading list. Shelley, you are a rock, a swaddle for Janelle's safe and warm place. You swaddle her with your love and your kindness, and you seem to have boundless love for everyone. Your patience and kindness for all others is infectious, and your unlimited and unconditional love has been the cornerstone of your sister's resilience. Through the grieving process here, you are a magical angel, as well as, which must be a reflection of Joe and Pam reflected in you, because clearly you're both angels. Ryan, Shelley's husband, who is not here, is caring for their children back home, which is a reflection of his character. He's a beautiful man, strength of character we should all strive for. And between Aaron and Ryan, Pam and Joe couldn't have asked for better partners for their children. The vulnerability with which your family truly shared your heart and soul is something I have never witnessed before, and I am truly blessed to have spent a week in your rays of light. Thank you. It was the greatest honor of my life to serve with your dear Aaron. He has forever changed me, and each of you has forever changed me. I will always be here for you, and our family will always be here for all of you. Thank you.
Ross, thank you for that special tribute to his family. I know Amber would be proud. I also want to thank you, Ross, along with many others here in attendance today, and those in our collective community, which I know has been talked about and memorialized or tributed so especially by the family, for the support that's been provided to Amber's family these past few weeks. I know they appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to thank the 370th Commander, Lieutenant Colonel John Midvale Michael, to say a few words. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're one big family. And as you've heard repeatedly today, he embodied all of that. He knew all of us. He treated us all the same. And it's with this, I just want to offer some humble words before we have some of his brothers who are going to honor him with a flyover. It's been an honor to be Amber's commander since he joined the 370th Flight Test Squadron not too long ago. Amber was known for singing to the control room, telling dad jokes to lighten the mood. It's Amber's laughter, his smile that I remember most, and my desire is for us to always think of him with a grin and a chuckle, which we all do. As we remembered our brother today, and since Aaron was always the first one to break the ice with a joke, I thought I'd share some appropriate dad jokes. One of his favorites, which has already been told, the Big Plus, that was the number one, and he shared that at his interview. It's one of my most memorable ones. A couple of others that I'll throw out because I think they're equally as terrible, but as dads, we get to tell bad jokes. That's how it goes. So here we go. What do you call a shoe made out of a banana? A slipper. What rock group has 4 guys who don't sing? Mount Rushmore. Why are there no knock-knock jokes about democracy? Because freedom rings. It feels good to laugh, to smile, and that's who he was. Always ready to share, to give us an excuse to find joy. And as I look back over the time I spent with Amber, I just want to share some short, funny stories and share why I love who he is and why we all love him so dearly, as you've heard. I first had the opportunity to meet Amber and fly with him back in 2013. In the KC-135, I was an instructor at test pilot school. He was a test pilot school student, one of the test men who you get to just meet. I remember we flew on 11 June in the 135. That's the exact same week of graduation. Nothing like cutting it close. It's a last minute, but that's how things roll in the Air Force sometimes. They happen when they happen, and that was a trend even in the short time with the 370th. Amber became the 370th's second Marine, became highly recommended by our first Marine, Rosie. And I still remember hearing about Amber's interest in the 370th back in 2018. He first reached out about 12 months prior to separation, and as I look back over my notes from the interview, that was what I wrote down, was that I found my note that he shared his Swiss flag joke with us. We gave him our intent to hire, and in true military fashion, he was supposed to separate from the Marine Corps in December of 2019, but with Air Force Reserve paperwork delays, he wasn't officially gained until about 5 months later, right in May, right in the middle of COVID. I remember coming in to greet him and hand him an in-processing checklist when there was no one else in the building to help with anything on the checklist, and yet, with a smile on his face, he expressed how happy he was to join the Flying Elvi, and we were just as happy to have him. In June that year, he left for the centrifuge since naval training it wasn't good enough. We got to send him the Air Force centrifuge, and he started training in the F-16 at Kelly Air Force Base. It was during his extended TDY out there that Amber and I started trading Air Force slogans back and forth via emails, just like his dad jokes via text. To me, this is when I could really see that Amber got it. As a Marine, he'd spent time with the Air Force, but it wasn't until he crossed into the blue that he saw the obvious hilarity at times in normal, everyday Air Force life in reality. So while in San Antonio, Amber wrote, "Everything is going well. I hope the 370th is flying, fighting, and winning." To which I replied, "Thank you for the update, Amber. We're aiming high every day." And then, as his F-16 check ride was delayed a few weeks due to weather, COVID, maintenance, etc., we ribbed him for just wanting to stay and delay his TDY in Texas to eat more Texas barbecue, which he wrote back, "Well, unfortunately, I just passed my check ride. We do the impossible every day." His positive and humorous outlook on everyday life and circumstances were just who he was, and we loved him for it. The next month after that, after he gets back, we're all following up on an OPSEC ancillary training deadline that we have, and he reports back that "No, I'm good. You can sign me off. I accomplished the training via Zoom. This increases our unit percentage to 76%, air dominance." To which I replied, "Thanks, Amber. Now start your adventure," kind of an older one. To which he remarked, "Today, I'm going to do something amazing." This was Amber, the ultimate professional, the expert fighter pilot, test pilot, officer, and yet he understood the reality of military life, that it brings sometimes things that aren't as expected, and he brought us all together with his humanity and his character. To which I'll offer one more slogan about Amber: "No one comes close." I know that would make him smile. Amber was the best of all of us, which you've heard. The person we all wanted to have with us on any team. His personality, his expertise, his wit, his laughter, his ability to immediately form a bond with anyone he came in contact with cannot be replaced. We miss him deeply, but he will always be part of us. He will always and forever be inspired. We will always be inspired by both his spirit and his memory. His smile, his character, his humility, his service, his devotion to the men and women who worked with him are a testament to him, and we offer our everlasting respect to our brother. Amber, you will be terribly missed by all of us, and yet he will always be with us in our hearts, and his memory will outlive all of us. Amber earned a place in our hearts. He earned it just by being himself. As a career Marine, he upheld the highest traditions of honor, courage, and commitment. Marine Corps values, which he carried with him into the Air Force, and as one of our finest examples of all-around servant leaders who are proud to have a Marine serving right alongside us as an airman in our Air Force. There are more stories I look forward to telling tonight, piano burning, but I'll close with a short story about the last time we worked together. One of the coincidences that just hit me, 8 years to the day at the time I flew with him at test pilot school. 11 June, his last final flight. There are no coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. I was fortunate enough to be flying with Amber to support him on his final flight, along with Senior Master Sergeant Scotty Skurlock, which was a tanker support sortie for F-35 mission systems test that he was wingman. It was my check ride up in the modified refueling track where right now his brothers are waiting to come honor him. As Amber flew on my wing, we made some small talk, very common for Amber, and he patiently hung out. An expert wingman for one of our younger F-35 test pilots. After quite a few refuelings, we were starting to get low on fuel, and Amber asked, "Are you sure you can give me another 4,000 pounds of fuel?" To which we replied, "Affirm, we got you covered." As we move forward, I know Amber's legacy will be on our wing, mentoring us, reminding us of what is truly important. We're all part of an Edwards family. We should always feel like family, which is what Amber did with all of us. He was part of all of our lives for a reason. There are no coincidences. And as a promise, we'll take it from here, Amber. We got you covered. Your family is our family. Godspeed, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for a medal presentation. Lieutenant Colonel Michael will present this medal and a commendation medal to Amber's son and daughter. Publish the order. Attention to orders. The Department of the Air Force presents the posthumous Meritorious Service Medal to Lieutenant Colonel Aaron M. Frey in recognition of his distinguished performance from 2 May 2020 to 5 July 2021. Lieutenant Colonel Aaron M. Frey distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States while assigned to the 370th Flight Test Squadron. During this period, as an F-35 test pilot and F-16 test pilot school instructor pilot, he flew 106 hours of flight tests, test support, and test pilot school instruction, including 130 hours of ground instruction to 46 students. Additionally, Colonel Frey's exceptional piloting and leadership skills were key to the successful completion of F-35 initial operational test and evaluation, as well as the transition and stand-up of the F-35B operational test detachment, ensuring delivery of critical capabilities and assets to the warfighter. As a test pilot school instructor, he developed a real-world capstone mission profile, which integrated multi-mission defense systems to include the combination of loads, flutter, and weapons tests, making the curriculum sortie 5 times more efficient. Finally, Colonel Frey was the on-scene commander for a downed aircraft mishap, coordinating helicopters and first responders to the crash site, ensuring rescue of 2 aircrew members. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Frey and dedication of his service to his country reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Thank you, Beast, Julia, Rufus, Wigby, Ross, and Midvale for the kind sentiments. I know we all share similar experiences with Amber, and our memories of him at the ITF, TPS, 370th, and his time in the Marine Corps will be cherished. At this time, Chris Park with the Tehachapi Mountain Pipes will play Amazing Grace. As an expression of gratitude for Amber's dedicated service, Lieutenant Colonel LeClaire and Major Bierce will present Janelle and her family with a symbol of our appreciation. Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I'd like to once again invite Chaplain Harris to the stage to provide the benediction.
Aaron's devotion to his Catholic faith was the genesis of the love that he was able to share with all of you, with his family. His dedication to our Lord and our God was the strength and source that he sought every day. As we prepare to depart from this place, may these words and prayers give us strength and hope and courage as we move forward as one community of love. You are the author and sustainer of our lives, O God. You are our final home. We commend to you Aaron, our brother. In baptism, he began his journey towards you. In the Eucharist, he was fed by your body and blood. Through the word and sacraments, he came to know, love, and serve you, O Lord. Take him now to yourself and give him the life promised to those born again of water and the Spirit. Turn also to us, O Lord, who have suffered this loss. Strengthen the bonds of this family, our community. Confirm us in faith and hope and in love, so that we may bear your peace to one another, and one day stand together with all the saints who praise you for your saving help. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I shall want. In green pastures he makes me lie down. To still waters he leads me. He restores my soul. He guides me along right paths for the sake of his name. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your comfort and your staff comfort me. You set a table before me in front of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Indeed, goodness and mercy will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. May the love of God and the peace of the Lord Jesus Christ bless and console us, and gently wipe away every tear from our eyes. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Go in the peace of Christ. Thanks be to God.
Another heartwarming set of remarks, Chaplain Harris. Thank you. As one final small tribute to our friend Amber, a few of us worked with Jamie Johnson to quickly design and make a small shoulder tab patch to remember him. Janelle was kind enough to provide 2 sets of Amber's camis to be used in making the patches that myself and several people in the audience are wearing on our shoulder. The patch has Amber's name as well as 4 airplanes performing a missing man flyover. The airplanes are blue and orange to symbolize his time as a test pilot and Air Force officer. The background is Marine camouflage to honor the military service that was central to him becoming the selfless officer and incredible pilot that we all knew. A number of these patches will be available at the reception for all of us to honor our friend and brother. In approximately 5 minutes, members of the 370th, 461st, TPS, and VX-31 supporting out of China Lake will conduct a missing man flyover in honor of Amber's service. There will be 2 formations separated by roughly 30 seconds. Please stand, which you already are, as we allow our honored guests to transition to the flyover viewing area. The flyover will conclude the formal portion of today's ceremony. As you transition to the viewing area, please set up facing northeast and refrain from taking photographs in the flight line. Following the flyover, some of the family would like to meet with Amber's coworkers in front of the B-52 on your right. There will also be a reception at the Mojave Sky Community Center on Fitzgerald Boulevard immediately following this event. At this time, I invite everyone to join us outside the hangar to view the flyover. This brings the formal portion of today's ceremony to an end. Please exit to your right.